So, whatever I write on the board, I want you guys to also write, okay? Because doing this lesson, there's a big system that goes with it, and I think eventually it helps us to learn exactly what we're doing. So, we're talking about arithmetic sequences in series. Arithmetic means that the difference between all of your numbers and your terms is either going to be added or subtracted. We just call it D for common difference, okay? Later we'll learn what it means if it's multiplied or divided, but for this point, it's just adding or subtracting. The top part of this box here is your term, and the bottom part is basically your answer. Okay, so if you look, this is first term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term. All right, so look to the right. We have our second term minus our first term. So what's our second term minus the first term? The second term is what? 3. My first term is -2. You guys see that? My second term was 3. My first term was -2. All right, so what is 3 minus -2? 5. All right, so write 5. All right, so right now we're looking at the difference. Okay, we'll find a better way to do this. You'll see how it gets much easier to find our difference. All right, my third term subtracted from my second term. Well, my third term is 8, and my second term is 3. What's 8 minus 3? 5. All right, my fourth term, which is 13, minus the third term is 8. So it's 13 minus 8. 5. You guys see the pattern? Yeah. So now my fifth term, which is 18, minus my fourth term, and we get 5. So because all of my numbers are the same, my common difference is going to be 5. Okay? We're at the point to where we don't have to do this on the side. We can do it with mental math. And we can start from, what are we doing each time? We're adding 5. From 3 to 8, we add 5. 8 to 13, add 5. 13 to 18, we added 5. Okay? That's what we're doing. Now it says you try. Determine if the sequence below are arithmetic sequences. Well, let's check ourselves. How do I get from 11 to 8? What did I do? Yeah, we subtracted 3. What about from 8 to 5? Subtracted 3. 5 to 2? And 2 to -1. So what is my common difference?
3.
No. -3. So this would be, you can just write yes. They're asking yes or no. Is this a sequence for arithmetic? The answer is yes, because my difference is -3 all the way through. On number 2, how do I get from 8 to 9? And then 9 to 10? 10 to 16? 16 to 21? Add 5. Is there a pattern there? No, so this is not arithmetic. This is nothing. Okay? So what we're going to be doing is we're first going to check to see what our difference is. If we have a difference that is the same, then we'll start with our process. All right, so if we need to find a specific term of a arithmetic sequence, example 1 says the sequence below is an arithmetic sequence. So that means my first term is 3, my second term is 10, third term is 17, fourth is 24, fifth is 31. What is my difference? How do I get from one number to the next?
7.
We're adding 7. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay? That's what I have to do first. This has to find the sixth term.
Was your line for them walk away for 30 seconds?
Yeah.
So loud. Next time I have to hire a babysitter, I guess.
All right, what's my sixth term going to be? 38, we know that because we added 7. Okay? So my sixth term, which I write a sub 6, equals 38. So what if we want to find our 10th term? What would the 7th term be? 38 plus 7?
45.
45. And what's our 8th term?
22.
And my 9th term?
59.
And my 10th term?
66.
Good. So not so bad. Excuse me. All right, not so bad when we're going from, from our 5th term to our 10th term. What we're learning today is what if on your test it says find the 1000th term. Are you going to write this out to 1000?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay? So there are formulas, which is why I gave you the formula sheet. The formulas will show you how to just put that into your calculator. Well, the formulas, kind of. We'll get there. On your calculator,
Keep those in my mind.
on your formula sheet, do you see where it says arithmetic and geometric on the back? Okay. We are not doing geometric yet. That is next class. We are just doing arithmetic. Okay? What this means is I want you guys to do this. Okay? There is something called the explicit rule. It will help you find anything you need to know. Okay? The explicit rule is very important. So, beside this first one, this first formula, I want you to write it E. That E stands for explicit. My second formula, that's what we did last class. This is your recursive. So write an R beside the second. Did you forget your packet? Oh. Alright, so I want you to just gently put a line through that third one. You don't have to scratch it out. I just prefer to not use it.
Can we use it?
You can.
That's you.
Excuse me, thank you. That S stands for sum, which means to add. So we're not going to use the third one, we're going to use the last one. Okay, so we have ERS. Okay? The reason why it's important to write ERS is because sometimes your directions may say, write the explicit rule. Well, if you have all these formulas here and you know that we're doing arithmetic and it says explicit rule, then you know we're going to be using that first rule. Okay? I also want you guys to find some space. Alright, if you have space right underneath it, that's fine. And I want you to write A sub n is equal to my first term plus D times n minus 1. Okay, all we're doing is removing that variable D from the back to the front of the parentheses. What that does is I had been, when it was at the back, we had to distribute backwards. So basically like D times n and then D times -1, which gets really hard. So I just moved it to the front so it's more comparable to how you learned how to distribute. Okay? You can use either one, but that one is probably more normal. Alright. Go past that. Alright, so writing a rule for the nth term of an arithmetic sequence. Number 1 says, write the rule for the nth term of the sequence. 49, 43, 37, 31, 25, and so on. Then find the 32nd term. This is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to recognize that they're asking for two things. Underline that, write the rule, and put number 1 beside it. Okay, it's a two-part problem. We're first going to write the rule, And then we're going to find the 30-second term. These two steps are often forgot about. You have to remember that they're asking you for two different things. All right, so once I've done that, it says we need to identify what is my first term?
49.
49. And what is my difference here? How do I get from 49 to 43 to 37 to 31?
Minus 6.
You're subtracting 6. Good. All right, so now it says we need to substitute these values into our formula and simplify. We are going to use we know where that E is, right? The explicit rule, okay? Because that can give me anything. So I want you to write step 1, because we know there's 2 steps. My first step is to write the rule. So let's rewrite my explicit rule. I just copied that straight from my formula sheet. That means your rule equals your first term plus your difference times your term minus 1. What we are going to do is we're going to plug things in, okay? Because I'm writing a rule, that a sub n just stays. I have nothing to plug in for n right now. What's my first term? 49. What's my difference? Negative 6 times n minus 1. Okay? Here's what gets tricky. You have to remember PEMDAS at this point. You see how it's 49 plus negative 6 times n minus 1? We are not adding 49 and negative 6 first. We have to take care of this multiplying first. So what is negative 6 times n? Negative 6n. And what is negative 6 times negative 1? Plus 6. That 49 just comes straight down. So I have 49 minus negative, or minus 6n plus 6. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify. I like my variables always in front. Okay, so imagine that n is an x. Okay, we always have like y equals mx plus b. That kind of is what the whole mindset is. Let's move this variable to the front. So negative 6n. Okay, once we're done with that, what's 49 plus 6?
55.
Positive 55. All right, that's part 1. They told me to write a rule, that's my rule. We used the rules on day 1, but day 1's a little different. We had a rule, we had where we're starting, and they said find the first 5 terms. Well, now they're giving me the terms, and they want me to find out what the rule is. Step 2 tells you to find the 30-second term. Okay? So if I have my rule, which is a sub n equals negative 6n plus 55, which term do we need? The 32nd, right? So a sub 32. Isaac, are you following me? A sub 32 is equal to negative 6 times, my term is 32, plus 55. So I want you guys to type this part into your calculator. And what do you get for your 30-second term? Negative 6 times 32 plus 55.
Negative 137.
Negative 137. So now we've answered both parts. Okay? What you guys have to pay attention to is, do you see how my ends always match? Right? So I know we get confused on when to put in numbers, But if we're looking for a certain term, you plug that in for your n. It's kind of a little simple that I can explain. All right, let's move on. Given that my first term is 12 and my difference is 5, write the rule, step 1, for the sequence, and then find your 28th term. Alright, so my first term, so my first part is to write a rule. Here's my explicit formula. Okay, we'll write that formula a lot today. I'm just writing a rule, so I'm not plugging in a number for my n. What's my first term? Huh? 12. Plus, what's my difference? 5 times n minus 1. Alright, my 12 comes straight down. What is 5 times n? Positive 5n. And 5 times negative 1?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. Alright, so now let's clean it up a little bit. My variable goes first, so what do I put at the very beginning? 5n. Then what's 12 minus 5? Positive 7. That was part 1. That's my rule. The second part of this is to use the rule we just made. And which term do I need? The 28th term. So my A, 28 equals 5 times 28 plus 7. What do you get for your 28th term?
47.
Did everyone get 147? 5 times 28 plus 7? 147?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Give me a second to... Alright, let's look at number 3. Write the rule for the nth term of the sequence and then find the 51st term. So let's write a rule. Because it's a rule, let's see what we have here. What's my first term? 15. What's my difference? 4. And then we have n minus 1. Remember, my n's are matching. Okay, so I have 15. What's 4 times n? And 4 times negative 1? You're subtracting. 4 times negative 1, you get negative 4. So my rule is 4n plus 11. Because that 4n went to the top, and then 15 minus 4 gave me 11. Alright, the second part of my question says, find the 51st term. Well, what's my rule? 4n plus 11, right? Which term do I need? need our 51st term. That's what they asked me to find. So type this into your calculator. And what do you get? Someone double check, Jeffrey. I'm sure your math is correct. 4 times 51 plus 11.
215.
So he was correct. 215. Any questions on those?
There's not going to be anywhere like where you have to find the difference. Because you know we in 15 to 6. What if we went from 19 and didn't add 6?
Then we can't do it. And if we got this far to have an actual problem, then the difference will be the same number. All right, this is a little different. Let's switch gears. Finding the nth term, giving a term of the common difference. What we're doing now is they didn't give us any of my series. They just said, in the sequence, the 49th term is negative 112. My common difference is negative 3. It tells me to write the rule for the nth term. Here's what we have to do. I start with my formula that we've been using. In this case, I don't know what my first term is. I have no idea, but I have to find my first term before I can even write a rule. Okay? So, my 49th term is what they gave me. So that becomes negative 112. I don't know my first term. What's my difference?
Negative 3.
Negative 3. Which term did they already give me?
212.
No, which term number was that?
40.
49 minus 1. I understand that this gets tricky because now we're like, okay, we actually have to plug in something for n. It's because we're working backwards. All right, so here's what we do. Type this into your calculator. Negative 3 times 49 minus 1. If you can tell that 49 minus 1 is just 48, then just type in negative 3 times times 48 gives you what?
Negative 148.
Wait, negative 3 times 48?
Negative 148.
Negative 3 times 49 minus 1 gives you negative 148.
That's what I got.
Okay. I thought I've been having different numbers. Let me double check my key. Can you use parentheses, Jeffrey? Do negative 3 times 48. What do you get?
In parentheses?
Nope, just do negative 3 times 48.
What is 49?
Right, but 49 minus 1 is just 48, right? What do you get?
Negative 144.
Negative 144. If you put it in your calculator, Jeffrey, you have to do it this way, with parentheses. Negative 3 times, parentheses, negative 41 minus 1. Alright, how do I solve for my first term now? Imagine that a sub 1 is just an x. How do you solve for x?
Minus 1.
Minus.
Add.
I'm going to add 144 to both sides. That disappears. I'm left with my first term equals, what's negative 112 plus 144?
32.
Okay, so now that we have my first term, now I can make a rule. Okay? So let's make a rule. Kind of had to work backwards here, but it's okay. Alright, so to make my rule, what's my first term that we just solved for? No, what's the first, you're thinking about the number. What do we have for our first term?
32.
32. That's my first term. What's my difference?
Plus 9.
My difference?
Oh, 32.
Negative 3 is my difference. I know you guys are tired, just stay with me. And then we have n minus 1. I'm running out of room. So, for my rule, I have 32. Negative 3 times n is negative 3n. And then negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3.
So we solved the first number?
Yeah, we had to work backwards because they gave us a 49th number, but we can't make a rule without my first term. So that's what we did on the left side. We got our first term, and now we can make our rule. So I have negative 3n plus 35. I'm going to show you a shortcut on the next one. You guys have this down? Alright, so clearly here they gave me my 49th term. For us to go back all the way to 1 would take forever, right? Look at this one. They gave me my 6th term and my difference, and I have to find my first term. I could do what I just did, do the formula, or can we not just show that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, whoa. Oh my gosh. That was so bad. 5, 6. My 6th term was what? 10. I need to know what my first term is. What would you do? You would just count backwards, right? They told me that my difference was 4. But that means I need to go backwards, so it's going to be, I'm going to go back negative 4, right? What's 10 minus 4?
10.
Alright, what's 6 minus 4? What's 2 minus 4? What's negative 2 minus 4?
That would be negative 6.
What's negative 6 minus 4?
That would be negative 10.
So what's my first term?
Negative 10.
Do you see how we just found the first term without doing this whole left side? Okay, this always works, but if you have a low number like 6 or even 10, even 12, I would just work backwards, okay? Because that may limit your mistakes. Because we still have to write our rule. So here's your explicit. Okay, but now I have my first term, which was what? Negative 10. Plus my difference, which was, be careful, what's your difference originally?
Whoa.
And then n minus 1. Bring down my negative 10 was 4 times n, 4n, and 4 times negative 1, negative 4. So my rule is, I bring my variable to the front. And what's negative 10 minus 4?
14. Oh, minus, sorry.
Negative 14. 4n minus 14 is my rule. This makes sense what I just did for this problem. Alright. I want you guys to try this one, but once again, it's too hard. It will take too long to go from my 34th term down to my first. I'll get you started. Alright, which term did they already give me? The 34th, which is what answer? So 177 equals, I don't know my first term. What's my difference? 5. The term number they gave me was 34 minus 1. In your calculator, what do you get for 5 times 33? Do you guys get where I got 33 from? 34 minus 1 is basically 33. If I want to solve for A1, what do we get? My first term is equal to what? 12. Good. Alright, this is the part I want you to try. You have to make your rule. Okay? We're making the rule. What's my first term? What's my difference?
5.
Times n minus 1. I want you to tell me what my rule is. Alright, so do you guys get 12 plus 5n minus 5? And then did you get 5n plus 7? What'd you do, Jeffrey?
I get -5, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, be careful, right? 5 times -1 is -5. Because we're distributing that 5. We're almost done. Good. Alright, recursive rule. If you look at your formula sheet, that's where we wrote the R. Okay? That R there means recursive. We've done this before. This is what we did on day 1, because this little term here means previous term. Alright, so recursive means previous term plus my difference. Alright, so it says in an arithmetic series, we have the first term is 5, my difference is -2. Find the explicit rule. So my explicit rule that we've written now 20 times is that A1 plus the difference times n minus 1. What is my first term? 5. What is my difference?
-2.
Times n minus 1. Okay, good. So to make my rule, -2 times n, -2n, -2 times 1, plus 2. Okay. Now let's just rewrite it. What goes first? -2n. Good. Take the sign before. And what's 5 plus 2? 7. I think the recursive rule is one of the easiest parts that we have to do. Okay, that was the explicit. When it says find the recursive rule, you need 2 things. You need where we're starting, and we need the rule. Well, I'm starting where? What did it already tell me? What's my first term? 5. Alright. My recursive rule says previous term plus my difference. That's all you write. You write your previous term, so a sub n minus 1, and your difference was, no, my difference was -2. That's all you have to do. There's not really much math involved for writing a recursive rule. You have to write this previous term minus 2. You're not plugging anything in for that a sub n minus 1.
That's easy.
Okay? Let's look at number 8. Your explicit rule. Actually, let's skip the explicit rule for this one. Let's do the recursive rule. Where am I starting?
13.
At 13. My explicit rule says the previous term, and what's my difference?
Okay.
plus 9. That's all you have to do. You can copy this down for the sake of time. Your explicit rule for this one was 9n plus 4. One final step, okay? This is kind of the best one. The sum of the finite arithmetic series. Do you guys see? This is where we wrote S, right? On your formula sheet. It's the longer sum formula, but it's the better one. If you use the shorter one that I told you to cross out, that's fine. But you actually have to solve for something to get it, which is a little confusing. So, what is my first term here for this series? 3, 7, 11, 15, 19. Huh? 3. What's my difference? 4. Okay. What you have to do for this is just plug it into your calculator. My question says, or my problem says, find the sum of the first 30 terms. That means they've already given us 5. That means that we do that until we get to 30, and then we go back and we add them all up together. Okay? No one has time to do all that. So, we have a formula. We're just looking for the sum for the first 30 terms, and we're plugging everything right into this formula. Alright? So what's the term that I want to find? It says the first, okay, 30, right? So 30 divided by 2. Then we have a bracket. I want you guys to write it down before you put it in your calculators. And then we have 2 times, what's our first term? 3. Plus, which term do we need? 30 minus 1. What's my difference? 4. Grab your calculator and type this in. To type in a bracket, you just need a parentheses. They serve the same purpose in your calculator. Alright, so here's what we're doing. I have 30 divided by 2, parentheses, right? And then 2, parentheses, what's that, 3? And then plus, parentheses, is it 30 minus 1? Oh, whoa. 30 minus 1. And then 4. Double parentheses at the end because that bracket, right? Whenever you see a bracket, just put a parentheses. Did you get 1830?
Yeah.
That's what you should get for this. Okay, so all we have to do for these problems when they ask for the sum is to just plug it into your calculator. To finish up, I want you guys to do this problem right here and let me know what you get. Find the sum of the first 25 terms of the series. 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. Anyone got an answer for number 10? should be 25 divided by 2, parentheses, 2 times, what's my first term? 5 plus, why 3? No, 25, right? It says n minus 1. So 25 minus 1, because 25 is the number of terms I want. And then times, what's my difference? 3. You should get 1025. Does that make sense? All right.